Welcome to the Young Turks. Big show ahead for you guys. In the third hour, we're actually going to have Matthew Dowd, former Republican strategist for George W. Bush. That's going to be a very interesting interview. You don't want to miss that. In this hour, we got massive stories. Latest updates on WikiLeaks, Operation Payback. What's that all about, and am I in favor of it? We'll explain. And also, it turns out Obama just doesn't cave in on domestic policy, another massive cave-in on foreign policy as well. Joy! Okay, now, of course, there is also what we're going to start with, a tremendous amount of news about the about the tax cut situation going on right now between the White House and the Republicans. All right, so yesterday I told you that President Obama was doing himself a great disservice and the party by agreeing to this Republican proposal on tax cuts, because then since he's agreed to it, he's now going to have to defend it. He's going to have to defend it now to get it passed, and he's going to have to defend it for the next 2 years because he's the one who made the deal. And so he'll be stuck in the position of defending the Republican ideas. And I said that that is a hidden cost in this capitulation. And I said when he says he's going to fight 2 years later on this, so it's a bit of a joke because one, why don't you fight now? And two, by that time you'll have spent 2 years defending the Republican position. And unfortunately, I was massively right. Let me tell you what's happened today. Here we go. First, on Good Morning America, David Axelrod comes out, on the Today Show on NBC, he came out and said that if the Democrats don't vote for this proposal, if they don't vote for tax cuts for the rich, it would be, quote, borderline immoral. So now if you don't do tax cuts for the rich, you're borderline immoral. That is the top strategist for the White House, just getting warmed up. On Huffington Post, several White House allies have talked off the record to them. Here is a direct quote. White House allies saying, "Are congressional Democrats going to hold emergency unemployment aid, new tax cuts for the middle class and the working poor, as well as existing expiring middle class tax cuts that would affect hundreds of millions hostage because they want to take away tax cuts from a small group of rich people?" Understand what happened there? All of a sudden, the White House is arguing that the Democrats are the hostage takers, that you would get all these lovely things like unemployment insurance, middle class tax cuts, etc., if the Democrats would stop taking hostages. Can you get a bigger flip-flop? Can you get somebody to argue the Republican position any better than the White House is doing it right now? What did I tell you? I mean, instantly, full boat, in all the way. You know what? Right before the show, Larry Summers, talking to reporters, top economic advisor to the president for now, came out and said, here, I'll give you the exact quote, "If the Democrats, don't pass this bill in the next couple of weeks, it will materially increase the risk that the economy would stall out and we would have a double dip." So now if you don't do tax cuts for the rich, the Democrats are responsible for a double dip recession. Total, utter, massive capitulation. But not just capitulation. Now they are doing the Republicans' bidding for them. They are making their arguments for them. They're blaming the Democrats for actually trying to fight back against tax cuts for the rich. This guy is the worst. Because now these tax cuts, so you understand, are deeper than the original Bush tax cuts. Yes, you get the original Bush tax cuts so that the top 2% pay less in income tax. But you get a deeper estate tax cut. It goes from 55% to 35%, the estate tax, okay? So a huge cut there, right? Furthermore, capital gains, dividend tax, carried interest, these are all the taxes that the very rich pay, okay? And they paid on accumulated wealth, not even their income. So that all gets cut to 15%. So the richest people in the country pay 15%, much lower rate than you pay, than I paid, than the rest of America pays, and the middle class pays. This is insanity. And now the White House is full-blown arguing to the world that, hey, if the Democrats don't agree to these massive, gigantic, more than Bush tax cuts, well, then they're holding people hostage, they're going to cause a double dip, and they are immoral. Now, the Republicans couldn't have dreamed of a president this good. because not only do they get everything they want, probably more than they ever dreamed of, but on top of that, they get a Democratic president making their best arguments for them. In fact, let's go to Karl Rove. Karl Rove says, quote, this is to Politico, the fact that these have been identified as the right policies by an administration that has had a knee-jerk response that if Bush promulgated it, we have to be against it. Well, it's a recognition of how sound these policies are and how necessary they are. In other words, Karl Rove saying, hey, look, here's Obama agreeing we had the best policies. We were right. Tax cuts for the rich are awesome. The Democrats were wrong. And I would like to introduce my president, Barack Obama, to make that point for me. Bill O'Reilly continues on the same exact vein. Let's go to clip number 1.
Well, first of all, good for President Obama. Good for him.
Yeah.
He did the right thing for the country by backing
go.
away from raising taxes on the affluent and small business owners. The president knew that would not pass in the Senate, and a stalemate would have caused a tax rise on all Americans. Now there's a chance that tight money might loosen up and business might start expanding again. That is the only way out of this bad economic mess we're in. But the ideologues on the far left are not interested in any of that. They want income redistribution and the economy be damned. The president then went on to say that the deal he made with the Republicans will likely stimulate the economy. So my question is, then why did you oppose the deal up till now, Mr. President?
Booyah.
Mr. Obama sounded like a supply sider today, did he not? There comes a time when every president has to do what's best for the folks or perish politically. And Barack Obama stuck up for us today. The American economy obviously needs to improve. Massive government spending on economic stimulus has not worked thus far. So now the folks will have more money to spend.
Yeah, folks like Rupert Murdoch, his boss, who are millionaires and billionaires. And look at what he said there. The president did our bidding. Okay? And he said, hey, look, Mr. President, if you think we're so right as you're arguing now, why didn't you agree to it earlier? The minute you agree with them, they use it against you. And by the way, in the Senate now, aides are talking to reporters and saying, oh my God, the White House is pushing polls on us, trying to convince us and then have us tell the American people that actually tax cuts for the rich are really popular. Here's another quote from an aide. He says, quote, the White House now wants us to defend extending the Bush tax cuts, saying it's not just good enough that they have spent out all their minions from the White House to make the Republican position, but they are demanding that the Democratic senators also agree with the Republicans, bow their heads, and make the case for it. Oh, hell no, man. Oh, I cannot wish Bernie Sanders and the rest who want to block this bill greater luck. Oh, okay, with Godspeed, man. Please, please, whatever you do, defeat the president. Defeat President Obama, who is 100% sold out to the Republicans here and the rich, and is going to give them the tax cuts that they have been dying for and that they couldn't even get sometimes under Republican presidents. Oh, hell no. No, no, no. This president, certainly not. I mean, it depends on what you call a Democrat. I mean, if you think this is a Democrat, then I'm definitely against the Democrats. Because the Democrats are wolf in sheep's clothing. They're the good cop, bad cop, as I've been explaining to you. They're the good cop, but they have the same exact goal, that the rich and the powerful get richer and more powerful. And he better not call himself a progressive. And he's got people on TV today arguing, how could you possibly be against this deal? What a lovely deal it is. If you're a billionaire, it is a dream come true. You couldn't have asked for a better deal than this. We worked this hard for this? For this? All of you out there, you went and you volunteered. People were sick and they went, they quit jobs for change. They worked for this so that this president come out and tell people if you don't agree with the Republicans, you're immoral. If you don't agree with the Republicans, you're going to cause a second recession, a double dip. It's all your fault. You better do exactly what the Karl Rove and Bill O'Reilly want you to do. This is what people vote for? And he thinks, well, I don't get it. Why are they disappointed? We're disappointed because you're the worst. You made their case for them. You handed it on a silver platter for them. Look, it's time to fight Barack Obama 100%, man. This isn't like posturing. This isn't to move Barack Obama to the left. No. I'm giving up on all that. The guy's not going to move. He's deeply establishment. Establishment is in his bones. I'm going to tell you something right now that's going to give you a sense of who he is. You're not going to move this guy, man. He's not a progressive. You think he's going to do change? Barack Obama's going to do change? What a joke. What a terrible, hideous joke. You think this guy who sent out Larry Summers and Axelrod and all these guys today to say that if you do not agree with tax cuts for the rich, insanely high tax cuts for the rich, that you're deeply immoral? That guy is somehow going to turn around and be a progressive and change and challenge the system? No, he's going to play patty cakes with you. Look, I told you yesterday and it came true today. I'll tell you tomorrow, okay? What he's going to do is the next time there's some sort of fake battle with no real consequences, he's going to huff and puff and pretend to fight the Republicans on a thing that doesn't matter worth a squat. I guarantee it. You write it down in stone, okay? Here's something else. I'll get to what Obama's about in a second, okay? And why he's done these things. Here's another thing I told you yesterday that's absolutely coming true. We talked about, hey, you know what? If you give in on this, actually it's not even giving in, it was his idea, on the idea of reducing the payroll taxes for Social Security. He considers it a massive win. He's like, oh, look at what I got. I got payroll taxes go from 6.2 to 4.2. That's $120 billion in people's pockets, and that's going to stimulate the economy. Okay, yeah, that's great. By the way, it turns out, as we find out today from actual Republicans saying it out of their mouths, yeah, we would have done that deal anyway. That deal is great. You know why? One, it's a tax cut. We're always in favor of tax cuts. And number two, it's going to help us undermine Social Security later. That's what we told you yesterday. Now look at this frank admissions by the Republicans today. Senator Bob Corker from Tennessee. Once something like this goes into place, meaning the deduction in payroll taxes, so Social Security gets less money, a year from now, when it expires, it'll be portrayed as a tax increase. So they're going to come back around and go, oh, no, that's a tax increase, man. You can't increase that tax. And what are you going to do? Social Security even has less money now, so I guess we're going to have to cut it. But trust me, keep reading the quotes. Here's Mike Johans, for Republican senator from Nebraska. Once you bring a rate down, if it goes back up, people will feel that. They'll feel that their paycheck being less, and that argument eventually is bound to be made. Look, I mean, you're going to do a tax hike. We can't do that, right? So we're going to have to cut it permanently. Well, Johans actually tells you exactly what the real deal is at the end here. Here's another quote from him. The difficulty you have here is that you have a very large federal deficit, and you've got a Social Security fund that really needs some work. Social Security has got to be part of the mix of deficit reduction proposals. Stay tuned. End of quote. You know what that means? Oh, no. We're going to take $900 billion in tax cuts now. And stay tuned. When we go to cut to meet that $900 billion, what are we going to cut? We're going to cut Social Security. He's telling you. And he's saying, thank you very much, President Duncehead, for helping us. Well, maybe he's not a duncehead. Maybe he's a Republican. Thank you, secret Republican president, because now you're going to help us make the case to cut Social Security. Here's George Voinovich, Republican senator from Ohio. He's actually one of the good guys here. He's opposed to the bill. He thinks it would create a terrible deficit problem. He actually wants to protect Social Security. But he agrees that the Republicans are up to exactly this. Here's his quote. Look, there's always a tendency to continue those things, meaning once you do the payroll tax cut. Once something comes in, it's very difficult to change it. It would be detrimental to Social Security system, especially when it's in bad shape. So wait a minute, he just said, look, it would be really detrimental to Social Security, and he's voting against it anyway. So they say, well, how about your fellow Republicans? Is deprivation of the Social Security fund one of their goals? His answer, quote, I suspect so. So the Republican President Barack Obama gives a $900 billion tax cut, by the way, the great majority of which is going to the rich. Do you know that the top 1% are going to get 25% of the benefits of the tax cuts? I'm not talking top 10%. I'm not talking top 20%. Just the top 1% get 25% of the benefits, okay? So they get this giant gift, and then later they will use it to cut your Social Security. They are saying it, not me. They say, yeah, of course we are. It's going to be awesome. And by the way, who's the guy who appointed the Deficit Commission who wants to cut Social Security? That's right, the Republican President, Barack Obama. So as I get today's news, do I want, yesterday the New York Times interviewed me. Matt Bai from the New York Times called me and said, hey, are you ready to talk about a primary opponent against President Obama? Even yesterday, I was foolish enough to say I'm not quite there yet, right? Because primary opponents wind up hurting presidents significantly in the past. That has been the history throughout, American politics. Well, I am there. I would like a primary opponent because I would like at least one Democrat to run for president in 2012. If Obama continues on this path, as he is almost certainly going to do, I'm telling you he's going to do more damage than a Republican. Not because Republicans would go not as far down the road, but because he gives the appearance of, he's the ultimate Joe Lieberman. He gives the appearance of, oh, well, the Democrats agreed to it. Look, you saw Rove. You saw O'Reilly. Well, if President Obama, Democratic president, agrees, we must be right. Look, it's not just this stuff. You know what else it is? It's warrantless wiretapping. When Bush did it, it was wildly illegal. Obviously illegal. Violation of the FISA Act, violation of the Fourth Amendment. Now, when a Democratic president continues the same policy, well, it's now no longer illegal. Democrats agree, Republicans agree. We no longer have a right to privacy. The government can wiretap us without a court order. When Obama does not investigate torture and how we did waterboarding of people, which we have prosecuted and put people in jail for before, well, he says it's no longer illegal. It's just a difference of opinion. When you get another president in, he could do torture just as much. It's not illegal. There's nothing to prosecute here. And I can go on, predator strikes, etc. I can go on, escalation in Afghanistan, the federal pay freeze and getting absolutely nothing in return, expansion of offshore oil drilling, getting nothing in return. This guy's the Manchurian candidate. Oh, now we're going to have to fight. Now we're going to have to fight a Democratic president while Washington is going to be giggling over this. Oh, great. Now we get to call progressives even more socialist, far left, because they're not even happy with a Democratic president. And the Democratic president will help to make their case and call us immoral, call us sanctimonious, as he did yesterday in his press conference. All the people who voted for, this guy's, that's the other thing. I mean, I'm not ready to pound the gavel on it, but I always thought Obama was going to win in 2012 because he's going to run against Bozo the Clown, right? They got nobody on the other side that's even reputable, and one thing he's good at is his own self-preservation, right? But now I'm thinking, I don't think this guy's going to win. Like I said, I'm not ready to pound the gavel, but how do you win when you don't have your own supporters on your side at all? You think the Republicans are going to vote for you, you clown? You think the Republicans are going to vote for you? And what are you going to do? You're going to get out Democrats, get excited to push Bush policies on steroids? Look, I'm not the only one who sees this. I'm going to quote you in the next segment, Democratic senators and representatives who are pissed, who want to fight, etc. But let's go to Keith Olbermann. Look, I was surprised by how strong Olbermann went here, last night, But it's an indication of everybody's fed up. Go to clip 4.
We have enabled this president and his compromises spinning within compromises, and now there are finally those within his own party who has had enough. In the Senate, the independent Mr. Sanders has threatened to filibuster this deal. He deserves the support of every American in doing so, as do Mr. Hoyer and Mr. Conyers and the others in the House. It is not disloyalty to the Democratic Party to tell a Democratic president he is wrong. It is not disloyalty to tell him he is goddamned wrong. It is not disloyalty for the 99ers and the 99ers to rally in the streets of Washington. It is not disloyalty to remind the president that he was elected by people to whom he had given a clear outline of what he would do for them. And if he does not steer out of the skid of what he is doing to them, he will not only not be reelected, he may not even be renominated. It is not disloyalty to remind him that we are not bound to an individual. We are bound to principles. If the individual changes or fails often and needlessly, then we get a new man or woman.
Keith Olbermann is goddamn right. Look, as incredibly frustrated as I was on Friday, I got that much more frustrated yesterday, watching the press conference, etc. today, I kept saying on the straw that breaks the camel's back. I think it's broken today. I mean, when he sent out his minions to say that the Republicans are right and the Democratic senators should make the Republican case for them, there's nothing left. There's no hope left. So, primary opponent, hell yeah. I can't vote for Howard Dean quick enough. I can't work for Howard Dean quick enough. If it's not Dean, it's somebody else. But here's what I'm not interested in anymore. Caution, establishment Democrats who are good at raising money from Wall Street, who are going to tell me pretty words, but actually, in substance, have never done anything. Remember, Barack Obama, as senator, never, ever fought Bush. Never. And that was my number one concern in the primary, but we got beyond it because of pretty words. Well, it turns out, to be generous to him, he didn't mean it. Now, when we come back, I'm going to try to answer, who is Barack Obama? Because we've been struggling with that over the last week. I think I'm settling in on an answer, right? And then the Democrats begin to fight back against their own president. Thank God, when we come back. All right, back on the Young Turks. I've decided that we're going to carry this conversation of lifestyles into the postgame. Because it turns out JR is Italian. We learned that during the break, okay? We'll explain why JR is Italian, and we'll talk about whether going to Costco makes sense or not.
Okay.
And thereby ruin any chance we have of ever getting Costco as a sponsor. But anyway, all right, we move forward.
All right, a Pizza Hut franchise in England is being called racist. And the reason why they're being called racist is because a group of professional black soccer players went to the restaurant, ordered their food, and they were asked by the management to pay prior to eating. Okay? Mm-hmm. Right after that happened, a group of white teenagers came in, and they were able to sit down and eat without paying beforehand. Yeah.
Well, that would be what you would colloquially call racism. I'm not saying that it's a store-wide policy. I'm not saying it's a Pizza Hut policy. No, okay? And the Pizza Hut can't control every single person that manages their different branches. That being said, was that guy being racist and demanding that blacks pay first and the whites don't? Of course. I mean, like, and you maybe you could argue on based on clothing or something like that, but they were soccer players,
They
right?
were soccer players.
So,
and, they walked into the restaurant. They explained that they were professional soccer players. After the manager came up to them and asked them to pay beforehand, they were like, well, is this your store policy? And the manager straight out said, no, this is not our store policy.
Well, you got to give the guy honesty. Okay, I mean, he's an honest racist, so he has an upside. No, it's not our store policy at all. I don't know if you noticed, but you're black. So I'm going to demand the money up front. It's crazy. And if they're professional soccer players, they're so much more likely to have the money.
Right.
I mean, it's like the most unjustified racism you can have, period.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you can't blame this on Pizza Hut because every single store has a different manager, a different owner, and it's not fair to make a blanket statement about Pizza Hut. However, a spokesperson released a statement that I do not agree with. Okay?
Oh, fascinating.
So I want to read the statement word for word. He writes, "We do not tolerate any form of discrimination. While our duty manager's actions were absolutely not racially motivated, we are very sorry for the way this was handled." That doesn't make any sense. What do you mean it was absolutely not racially motivated?
They're trying to cover their ass, right? Because, I mean, how do you know? And if it was poorly handled and it wasn't racial, then what was it?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And look, I'm open to the other ideas. If there was a different reason, but it doesn't look like there's any stated reason at all, and it seems like they're perfectly wealthy. Mm-hmm. So, look, if I was trying to do damage control for them, I wouldn't put out a statement saying, "Oh, absolutely not. Had nothing to do with it." Right? First of all, I'd investigate it before I did that. Right?
Exactly.
But at the same time, again, I don't think there's a worldwide Pizza Hut conspiracy. They're like, all right, hold up pepperoni, extra cheese, and discriminate against black people. Okay? It's probably just that manager. Probably.
By the way, on a completely separate note, when I read the story, it made me wonder how Pizza Hut in Europe works. Because you know how fast food restaurants are different in Europe than they are in the United States? Like in the US, you order and you go home. But there, it sounds like they have like a nice little restaurant. Like you go, you sit down, you order, they bring you a nice pizza.
It's Britain. It's not Italy.
So?
So?
It's pizza.
Okay. No. They have Pizza Huts here where you go and sit down.
Really?
Yeah, there's one in Freehold. Yeah. I actually rather enjoy that.
I was unaware of that.
Absolutely.
There's none in L.A. Is the difference.
Yeah.
That's what it is. There's nobody would sit down at a Pizza Hut here.
Yeah, no
that's
one. I've
interesting,
never
yeah.
seen a single Pizza Hut like that.
There's nobody would do
I
it.
never thought of that. It's true. On the East Coast, there's plenty of Pizza Huts. Yeah.
No, it used to be that Pizza Hut was a sit-down restaurant, but then with the dominance of Domino's, Pizza Hut tried to compete, and they built all these new ones that were like Domino's. But their original model was a sit-down regular restaurant.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. In fact, it makes me want to have Pizza Hut now. I'll even pay up front.
Well, I mean, look at you. You have to.
Well, no, I'd probably have to pay in the middle of the dinner. You know, being somewhere between white and black, olive skin. I'm on my second slice. They're like, now hold up now. Now you pay. And at that point, if they're holding my pizza ransom, or hostage, I should say, especially if I was Obama, I'll pay double. All right, what's next?
All right, there was a new study published in the Journal of American Sociological Review, and it found that, first of all, religious people, namely Catholics and evangelical Protestants, are more satisfied and happier with their life than non-religious individuals, okay? So what two researchers wanted to do, one of the researchers being Robert Putnam, who's an amazing political scientist. Love him. Anyway, moving on.
Random Love by Anna Kasparian. All right, Robert Putnam, go get him.
Yes. They wanted to figure out why these religious folks are so happy. Why are they more satisfied with their life? Well, it turns out that it has absolutely nothing to do with theology. It has nothing to do with their relationship with God. What it really has to do with is the social network you build every Sunday when you go to church. You meet people, you bond with them, you do something with them once a week at least that you both feel connected to. So that gives you a higher satisfaction of life.
To which I say,
Of course!
took the words right out of my mouth. Okay. Look, that's why they do the ritual. That's why they do, and every religion does it. You know, the Muslims do it on Friday, Christians do it on Sunday, et cetera, et cetera. They get together, and it's, you know, that's why I think Christianity has a huge edge over Islam. I've talked about this before. Because the Christians, they get it, you know, they used to back in the day, some still do, get dressed up very nice. The women are pleasant to look at, right? And they go and they have benches. That was the biggest revolutionary breakthrough for the Christians. The Muslims in the mosque, there's no benches. And the guys take off their shoes, leading to worldwide disaster. And then they kneel down. And you know how hard it is to kneel down for all that time? Okay.
Yeah, it's super difficult.
Right. And they're like, Wallahu Akbar, and da-da-da, pa-da-da, da-da-da, right? And you're in pain, and there's no chicks to look at. They're behind the veil. They're like in a different part of the mosque. You smell the guy's feet in front of you. Okay. Nobody wants to be part of that ritual. Okay. No, of course. Apparently over 1 billion people do, right? But that's why I find the Christian way of doing it a little bit more pleasant. But look, humans are social animals. And so that's, of course, part of what gives them joy. When I later come up with my own religion, the non-religion religion, I will definitely do some get-together on the weekend.
Yeah, see, that would be awesome. And then non-religious folk will be just as happy as religious people. It'll be great. No,
I'm already that happy, but
By the way, this story reminded me of one of my favorite things to do when I was growing up. I had a neighbor who was Lutheran, right? And every Saturday, they went to church on a random day of the week, right? We would go to church, and it was awesome because everybody would bring goodies. So after the service, we were eating like cupcakes.
No. The Christians are geniuses. It's not even close.
I loved it. It was so much fun.
Every time we talk about this, I get some sort of hate mail from some Muslim viewer, member, whatever, et cetera. It says, you know, how can you say that? You know, going to mosque is so... Oh, come on, dude. I'm not some American, you know, from Iowa that's never seen it. Who are you talking to? I've been at mosque, okay? How can you possibly enjoy the smell of the guy's feet in front of you? How? And he's almost guaranteed to have a hole in his sock. And you can't ever like the kneeling for 30, 45 minutes, however long it takes, right? No, it's crazy talk, right? And you can't even stare at any hot chicks. Not buying it. Not buying it at all.
And there are no cupcakes afterwards. I guess.
Christians,
I'm not sure.
geniuses, cupcakes, okay, and benches. All right, listen, one more thing. In the post game, we're going to talk to Steve-O about how one time, he was at a Christian retreat, okay, and they asked him about the hole in his life, okay. It relates to this story as to, like, you know, how do they try to recruit you? Is it through God or is it through something else, right? And that fascinating Steve-O story for members in the postgame. Okay, what's next?
All right. We have a pastor from Dallas, Texas. His name is Robert Jeffries, who plans on putting any business on blast if they do not openly celebrate Christmas. Okay.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
No, but this scares me. Okay, this goes too far. Because what he plans on doing is he's creating a website. It's called Grinch Alert. And he's literally going to list all of the businesses that aren't openly celebrating Christmas. So this all started after one bank refused to put a Christmas tree in their lobby. And he was like, ain't having that. I want a Christmas tree in your lobby.
All right, Robert Jeffress. We actually are having a Christmas party here at TYT. But just to piss you off, we're going to change it to holiday party. So tell me how my ass tastes. Put us on the list.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, who doesn't love Christmas? Well, neither my wife or I are Christians, but we get a Christmas tree every year, okay? Because Christmas trees are lovely. You put the little decorations. And this year, we didn't have time because Wendy's going to Taiwan later. So instead of getting a big tree, I got a little tree for the little guy, for Pro. Okay. Now, having said that, just to piss off Robert Jeffress, I'm going to start referring to it as a holiday tree. What are you going to do now? Put us on the list. Put us on up.
So this pastor also plans on going on KCBI-FM, which is a local radio station, and he plans on listing those businesses on the radio as well. So basically, he can get like a mob of, you know, right-wingers to go to these businesses and harass these business owners.
Yeah. Look, I'm not that concerned about it. They always try this. They actually don't have that many people. It almost always fails.
I hope it does.
You know, I remember when the Christian right did this, like, they did two massive, what they thought were massive protests of Disney and Ford, right? Because Disney didn't hate their gay employees and gave them the same rights as straight employees. That made the Christian right lose their mind, right? And they did this really long, drawn-out protest against Disney. You know what happened? Nothing. Nada. Squat. Dick. Okay. Disney was like, oh, that's cool. Sales went down 0%. Okay. It had no effect. And then Ford was doing ads of Jaguar, for Jaguar.
I remember this.
You remember the story? And in gay magazines, because gay Americans have a lot of disposable income for a lot of obvious reasons, right? And so the Christian right was like, oh, we're boycotting Ford. And Ford got scared, and the first they pulled the ad, and then they realized, oh my God, those guys have so much more money than these guys, and these guys are full of shit, and they don't, that boycott isn't going to be, they put it right back into the gay magazine. Their sales didn't get hurt at all by the Christian right protests, whereas gay people went back to buying Jaguars, and they were happy. Okay, so this protest will amount to absolutely nothing. Don't get intimidated by these clowns. J.R. Jackson. No? You're going to leave it right there? All right. All right?
All right, I want to take a break because when we come back, we have a controversial story.
Uh-oh. Controversy. Must be the first time on TYT. All right, we'll settle it when we come back.